Sometimes the final cut is the cruelest.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
All right, welcome back on into AfterBuzz TV and a World of Dance. I'm trying to do choreography and host at the same time. I'm Kristyn Burt, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight. And I got to tell you, my girls over here are awesome doing their choreography. I can't do it at the same time. But just to let you know that TK is at the Step premiere, which is an amazing documentary that you guys need to see. It's opening on August 4th, so I'll be talking about that a little bit more at dancenetwork.tv. But ladies, introduce yourselves.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Amy Cassandra. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AmyCassandra_TV. Also, AmyCassandra.com.
Heck yes. Hello, everyone. I got a little bit of a cold, so I'm a little nasally, but Nasally Becky can be found at Becky Sattero on, drumroll, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. See you there.
And Becky with the short hair. We love your haircut.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. So fun.
All right, I want to dive right in because we've got a lot to talk about. We have a lot of emotions,
Yes.
as we did
We're very
last
angry.
week, too. And this is the cut week 2. Now, just to kind of refresh everyone, if you haven't seen the actual NBC show just yet and you're listening to this first, just a reminder that we were almost halfway through the team round. So we had Super Crew went and they got an 88.8, and then Swing Latino was at the top of the leaderboard with 92.5. And then we have 3 more to wrap up the round. And of course, Neo is the mentor.
Yes.
So we kick it off with the Kinjas, who have been tremendous this entire competition. What did you guys think of their dance in this round?
It was clean. Really
precise.
clean. Yeah, very precise. It was good.
Wasn't their best, right?
It wasn't their best.
I
It was
didn't
all
think so
right.
either.
Like, even thinking about all the details. I mean, but they got really good scores, all in the 90s.
I loved it. I mean, I think that we saw, obviously, with the last performance that they had the theatricality, they had the props. That still was my favorite so far. But what I loved about this is it was a little more rooted in terms of just dance. There was not a lot of theatricality with it. I mean, granted, they had their handkerchiefs, but I felt like it was typical Kinjas, or it was completely executed flawlessly, and they tapped into the audience. They just delivered on all 5 categories again. So it doesn't surprise me that they were the top there.
And I think, again, it's always good to show something different, which is exactly what they did. I felt a little underwhelmed with this one, and I did feel that it was a little less clean than what we've seen in the other 2 rounds. But it was still really clean. Don't get me wrong.
But I wonder if that was wardrobe and maybe the way that maybe, I don't know, I guess their lines, like how the choreography was structured, because since it was in the round, most of it, I don't know, maybe the illusion of it, like we've talked about in the past, the camera angles maybe made it look a little messy. Because I agree with that.
Yeah.
I did feel a little bit less polished. It felt a little messy for me as well,
They
to the eye.
missed the handkerchief.
Yeah, you
thing
saw
with
that,
it.
and there were a couple arms that went at a little, like, just, you know, when it's like a fraction of a second at different timing and it catches your eye. There was a little bit of that going on that the camera caught, and I don't know how it looked in person, because that can always look a little different too. But again, I feel like I'm nitpicking, though, at the same time, because I love their work and I love what they do. I just felt like this one, you just want to keep on setting the bar higher and higher, and I felt like this one was a little bit under some of their other performances.
Right. Well, and I mean, they're so intricate that I feel like, you have to, like, find the tiniest little things in those performances because we're at that level now. So, but
see, the thing is, too, that they're fighting, obviously, for the spot at the end, but they're also competing with all of our standards for them, but also watching everyone else, which is way trickier because you have, like, all these standards and they have to meet all of those and surpass them, which is very difficult.
It's super hard, and it only gets harder from this point forward, going forward. But I don't disagree. I mean, the scores were a little bit all over the place in the 90s, but nothing. There's some scores that are going to come up later in the show that I'm like, but like 93, 90, 96, 95, maybe 96 was a little bit high, and maybe 90 was a little bit low. I actually agreed with Neo. I felt like 93 was kind of like a good sweet spot for them.
Yeah, 96, I mean, I'm Team Kinjas all the way, but 96 was definitely, especially after looking at these other scores in the upper division, was very generous. Very. So again, that would be another thing where I'm kind of curious, like, what's that conversation like behind the scenes with the judges on the, at the panel? But.
Yeah. So their average was a 93.5, which then knocks out Super Crew, and then it puts Swing Latino in second place. So we'll just kind of like keep on refreshing you guys with scores and everything. And I will say that I do have an interview coming up with Super Crew that I did on Saturday. I was at the World of Dance Finals in Pasadena, which was amazing. And Super Crew had a lot to say just about scoring and judges' comments, and there was some shifting around.
Some inconsistencies you mentioned?
Some inconsistencies. So I have an article coming out with them in an interview tomorrow on dancenetwork.tv, so you guys can look for it there. But, here's the thing. They still walked away feeling very positive about the show because they feel like it's pushing dance forward. So, but we can talk about some of those inconsistencies just in terms of the judging. Because then we go to the poor Chapkiss dance family. And I sit there and go, we're left
we saw 2 seconds of it, right?
I felt like it was way worse than last week. It's just like, and especially because they don't give you the backstory of, Neo talking to them. So you're like, oh, great. It's going to be 1, 2. Oh, look, it's over.
Yeah.
So we
predicted it too. We're like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
They were at the World of Dance Finals, by the way. So they were competing. And, I'm glad that they're like out there and they're still within the World of Dance family. But a little frustrated. And I wonder if some of these acts that got sort of shortchanged in this season, if they're going to try and audition for next season.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah.
What are they going to be working on? And these groups are so large too. It's like I wonder if maybe they'll come back a little small. I don't know. It's hard to know. Come back a little smaller.
There's some stuff going on behind the scenes. First of all, the scouts were there on Saturday, so they were scouting new talent for season 2 already. They asked certain groups to submit audition tapes, and they have asked some season 1 contestants to think about coming back.
Like downsizing almost, do you think?
But switching up. So someone that's a duet, maybe thinking about coming in as a soloist, maybe adding a few members, maybe subtracting a few members. So they have made some suggestions for people that might be open to returning. So I think we are going to see some familiar faces in season 2 as well.
That'd be good.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's too bad though, because again, you just look at like, holy crap, that's a low score. So I want to know kind of what went wrong there.
Yeah, it's one of those things. They're like, everything's up on YouTube. Everything's not up on YouTube. So, and sometimes it's like just a clip. Sometimes certain acts that we did see on the TV show are missing from the YouTube page. So I'm not sure, again, what's happening or where the disconnect is. I do have, and I'm going to say this, I do have 2 of the executive producers coming on my show to the point on finale day on August 8th. And maybe they can answer some of those questions for me. We'll see.
My gosh, you're gonna slay it!
I'm
Watch out, people!
Excited.
I have a list already running for them because I'm like,
gosh.
question about this and a question about this. They're great guys too. Dave Gonzalez, who created World of Dance, he was a marketing guy, by the way. Just was like, I love this dance world. Let me just kind of create a tour.
Well, are we going to be able to hear some of that insight on this show? When is that one going to be?
It's going to be on Tuesday, August 8th at 3 p.m. So and then
evening.
And then I'll be here in the evening. So I can give some highlights and then tell everyone to make sure to watch the full hour because that one will be chock full of info. So 85.8, I don't really know what I'm judging, honestly. I feel bad because, I saw them at World of Dance and they were great, but I don't know what they did on the show to accurately and fairly judge them.
Yeah, and I think, they're already going into it with just sort of the precedence of the Kinjas and Swing Latino and Ian Eastwood and the Young Lions. So I just think that maybe they just weren't quite there. They were already kind of ruled out, which is sad, but
we really didn't see anything at all this season.
I know it's super frustrating.
Debbie Downer here. Like,
well, it's not Debbie Downer. I think for us, we all appreciate their talent because getting on the show is you're good if you got on the show to begin with.
Sure.
And so everyone should at least have 1 week of the moment to see a full routine. It's not fair.
Especially when you're in the cut. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty far. They've made it pretty far. So the 3rd round.
Yeah, and I know that, that there's not enough time, and that's been an issue all season long, and NBC is aware of that. And they're also, we have to remember there's the dance aspect to it, and they're also creating a TV show, so there's that aspect. And maybe they thought, well, we don't want to have you guys invest in this group, and then we yank them away and you never see them again.
But
I don't know.
That's part of it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's part of TV too, is giving the people a variety and having something to kind of place on, because now we're all like, oh, we see this low score and this great group of dancers that got all the way to cut, but we don't know
What
really
does it mean?
about them. Yeah.
What does it mean? I don't know what it means.
Right.
So, but let me tell you, they were fantastic live. So, you know, support them on YouTube. You know, if you see them performing, buy a ticket. Like, that's what I feel like. Hopefully that will give them some more brand recognition, and maybe we'll see them in season 2. Then we have to get to My Heart is Breaking. Ian Eastwood and the Young Lions. I don't even know where to begin with this, because I have felt like since his very first appearance, the group's first appearance, I felt like Ian and his style and his choreography was already misunderstood.
Very much.
And if he has a very established style already, and remember, he's 24, and it's going to continue to grow, but to not understand what that foundation is already just set him off, like, just with the judges in a weird direction that I was like,
right. But I do agree with the judges when they said that that group has evolved the most. I just wonder how different it would be if maybe he had entered as a soloist. I think that the group dynamic just maybe, I don't know, totally my opinion, but he's so strong and so dynamic by himself that I just would almost kind of like to see him come back as a soloist, sort of. I mean, like, Fiction was our only, like, strong soloist, so I just feel like, let's see how he could kind of, to me, he just felt, the group felt like average behind him. My eye was always on him. So in that,
he is the star of the group, and
Yes,
he's had
of
the Young
course.
Lions though since he's been about 16. So it's
Yes.
part of his brand and his identity. So you have to, for him to break out, because Fiction's always been solo. So for him to,
But maybe let's see what that would look like. What
for
that landscape
season 2,
would look
sure,
like.
yeah. But I think for this one, it makes sense that
Yeah.
it was Ian Eastwood and the Young Lions, because otherwise that's breaking the brand.
I mean, yeah,
That is true.
I mean, I guess I just don't think that they were at the when you're looking at a group, they weren't at the Kinjas level. They weren't at. Well, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Swing Latino, but I still think that they're very, very strong. So.
See, I think it was just a beautiful performance. The lighting was on point, the effects, everything, and then them together creating just a really nice illusion for Ian. And I don't know, I just think that it was way up here. People sometimes just don't understand different kinds of dance, and unfortunately that did not work out for them. But we can all agree that we do not agree with how it ended.
No, and I think
That's not
and
okay.
if let's give it to the people. If people were voting, that would have turned out totally different.
Oh, 100%.
100%, because I think the judges were just kind of, again, I don't know, just kind of not on the Ian Eastwood train from the beginning.
Yeah, someone was like slightly underwhelmed, and it just kind of like continued in that direction.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm never underwhelmed. To me, I find him so appealing in terms of like his style and his creativity, because
love watching
it
him
is
too.
not the typical crew. If I like turned on America's Best Dance Crew, I know that I'm going to get something. I like the lyrical quality that he brings to hip hop,
Me too.
because it's so different.
Yes.
But you know, World of Dance, he was there at the finals again this past weekend. I can tell you that probably no one was bigger than him this weekend. People, especially girls, young girls, they're all over him. I mean, they just love him, and he's bringing a whole huge audience to dance. So I appreciate that. He handles judges' comments way better than I do. I mean, when I talked to him in my interview a couple weeks ago, I was like, I just was so angry for you. But he's like, you know, not everyone's going to like what you do, and you have to
I don't know. He looked pretty upset by those results tonight. We definitely saw some emotion finally.
But
out of
he
him.
definitely didn't.
He was composed.
I would have opened my big mouth. And
Yeah,
said
he was
something.
composed, and you have to be, because I mean, he'll probably be back next year.
Maybe.
You know.
We'll see.
Is it weird to say that he's maybe just bigger than this? Like, his level of artistry is beyond this.
Then do Lelay Twins need the world? You know what I mean? Like, because they're big, they're huge.
See, I feel like when you have hip hop in it, like, yeah, team hip hop, that plays perfectly on here. But if you want to be a little bit different, it just doesn't play as well.
I don't know though. Like I agree with you. I think the lyricality, how lyrical his hip hop is so unique. So to me, there is a place for it in this competition. It is very, very different. I don't know. I was gonna say maybe they wanted variety with Swing Latino and the Kinjas, but then we talked about the junior division, you've got 2 contemporary artists. So I don't know. I'm just confused because Ian should have been in that top 2.
We'll see. And even in the scores, Neo went as low as 83.
So low.
And then Misty, 93.
Misty and Derek, and Derek was 91. And Derek's always had an appreciation for Ian, I think even in the earlier rounds. Misty has been a little bit higher than most of the judges, but I mean, 83. I always feel like Neo has like completely been underwhelmed by Ian this whole time.
He just doesn't get it.
Doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it. And you know, here's the other thing. Like after talking with Ian, I do wonder if he would come back for a season 2. I almost feel because he's like I'm only going to do things that I'm passionate about. I'm not doing things for money. That he's really at a place that's very evolved for someone that young, and I almost feel like just from my interview with him, and I have no knowledge of like what he thinks if he would come back, but I almost feel like he could be like, I had a great experience, I learned a lot, moving on.
Yeah, maybe he'll dive into some big choreography like J-Lo suggested. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, but it was really interesting. I just didn't agree. I kind of felt like we could have had Kinjas versus Ian, and it still would have been different, but I think that they're feeling that they were slighting other styles if they had so much hip hop in the divisional finals.
Well, and that's what I mean too. But then again, you look at juniors and we've got 2 contemporary.
Then it's contemporary.
Yeah.
We don't really have contemporary anywhere else. You know what I mean? If you look at the overall picture of like what they are promoting, so they've got some hip hop, and they have like some ballroom, swing, Latino, Colombian salsa, and they have your contemporary. So at least that they can pick and choose from variety. Because I probably would have put the lab in the juniors.
Well, that's what I mean. So they could have had the lab and a contemporary artist. So there is more variety within each division.
But here's the thing: if the lab won the divisional finals in there, for the junior division, and then Lelay Twins or Kone and Mari, who are both hip hop-ish, had won in their division, and then say Kinjas win, then you have 3 people that are all hip hop in the finals.
Yeah, but so then we're puppeteering. Oh, I hate that.
But I think that there is some puppeteering going on. Thinking contemporary. I don't know how Swing Latino beats Kinjas, honestly, but Kinjas, but they at least have like crew, and then they have.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
yes,
do you know what I'm saying?
The overall like umbrella of it is
big picture of what the finals look like.
And I will forever be. I guess I have a hard time with dance competitions like this because it's about finding the best, like not puppeteering, like how the overall picture is gonna look. We're looking for the best. So I don't care if you've got 4 hip hop groups in there. We're looking for the best. I don't know.
And we never know what to believe. I mean, there's so much editing that we don't see.
Right.
So it's something to keep in mind that maybe they're changing things around and we just don't know.
Read my article tomorrow. Here's some things. Well, and here's the other thing, too. I was asking around because everyone was like, it will be a longer season next year. There might be some more time on certain episodes or certain rounds where it's like 2 hours versus 1 hour. But nobody was saying that the shows would be live next year. Everyone seemed to think that they were going to stay with pre-recording.
I'd like them to be live.
I would love them to be live. Creating a schedule with people like J-Lo and Derek and Neo is tremendously difficult. However, I think that the live element adds a lot of excitement and a lot of things that you can't play out in pre-taping.
I was just gonna say it puts some truth in there too, and
it sure does.
I think that's maybe my biggest problem with this show, if I'm being completely honest, is I just feel like it's just. I don't know. I'm feeling like I told you guys I'm a little bored because I just kind of feel like there's no excitement to it because we already know how it's being played out. Whereas, like you said, the live show, it just adds the like there's not as much puppeteering happening with it.
And we'll see what happens. Like maybe all of a sudden, they throw out the idea of pre-taping and they add in a live element. We'll see.
You're
what
right
happens.
though. The scheduling would be a nightmare, especially with so you can dance and there's just a lot happening.
There's a lot happening. And J-Lo, she had to cancel doing the musical this year. She was supposed to do Bye Bye Birdie in December because her schedule was tight. So there's a lot of things at play. And she's got her Vegas show. She's got a lot, and she's got to date A-Rod. She's got kids.
She had a birthday yesterday.
She had a birthday yesterday.
Ooh,
she
that
had
dress.
She looks amazing.
All I could see, all I could pay attention to was that dress. So beautiful.
She's amazing. I love her. Okay, so we move to the upper division with Derek as the mentor, who I think is such a great person for constructive feedback and probably gave the most helpful comments to everyone. And when I saw Lelay Twins sort of even though they didn't really show anything, but even when they were like, no, this is great, we understand, that's when I know that Derek commands respect.
Yes, he does. Well, because I remember thinking, like, what is Derek going to be able to, like, tell the, Lay Twins? Like, I feel like that'd be such an intimidating
He's got a great
situation.
director's eye.
No, but you, like, again, it could be editing, but you watched him watch the routine, and he genuinely had positive, well, he just had, a critique for them, and wow, coming up with a critique for Lay Twins.
It has been my greatest, like, excitement to watch Derek leave Dancing with the Stars, and I'll tell you why. Not because I don't like seeing him on the show, but he's so above and beyond. Like, he had grown so much past that show, and he's capable of so much more. And like watching him mentor these contestants, I was like, this is what he's capable of, whether he wants to direct a dance film or a Broadway show or have his own dance company. Like, there's so many possibilities, and he's still very young, and that excites me to watch talent like that.
Me too. He's really coming into his own.
Yes.
Apart from, because he was always just, Dancing with the Stars, dancer, but now
Emmy
he's just
nominee,
coming to,
Emmy winner,
Yes.
but I just feel like this life now for him is just so much bigger. So I just wanted to sing some Derek Hough praises.
Yes.
But we go right into Luca and Jenna Lynn, and I heard your comment. You were like, "This is not dance." So I'm gonna have you start.
I'm super hard on them. I don't know. I don't feel like this competition is a place for them. I think that they'll belong well in Cirque du Soleil, or, I mean, for heaven's sakes, like, America's Got Talent. They may get super, super far, but I see just tricks on tricks on tricks on tricks, and it's, this is the world of dance, and I mean, to each in their own, but to me, I am very underwhelmed. Let me say that their tricks are amazing. They are amazing. I just don't think that this platform, this show, is the best.
But it is categorized as a ballroom cabaret it is part of dance sport. It is part of Blackpool, which is like the major ballroom competition. This is a part of that. So you have to understand that it is categorized, whether you can think so or not. It's kind of like, to me, you watch trampoline at the Olympics, and it is part of gymnastics.
Sure.
So everything, or like they're trying to include now parkour into gymnastics. So there's always going to be things that are a little bit like on the fringe of what it is. I think for them, and they're so young, like you got to remember, he's 20, she's only 16. This will evolve, I think, as a partnership.
Yeah, but even the judges were saying, I mean, they need to marry dance movements in between that. To me, all I saw was lifts and tricks. So, I mean, for just my visual eye, I'm also, like I said from the top of this critique, that I'm not like, Miss Know-It-All of dance. I just, to me personally, I felt like I was watching a lift clinic.
You're missing the connection between like the lift and like the next move and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think like as they grow and evolve, you're going to see their style evolve, which will also incorporate more dance. And they did a piece earlier this year with Philip Shabib from So You Think You Can Dance, he's an incredible choreographer, and they've incorporated, like, if you start watching what they're doing now on YouTube, you're already seeing more dance incorporated to what they're doing. So they're open
just
to it.
a little more polishing, I think, maybe.
But it's going to come, because you have to remember, she's the only one that was 16 in the upper division also.
Well, and again, I'm being difficult because look at this talent pool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing, is it's not that they're not good. I just think when you're putting them with these groups, even with fiction, with, Kinjas and Lelay Twins and Kone and Mari.
Well, they're competing against the best of the best. They were basically an unknown act until now.
Yeah.
Competing against Lelay Twins. Like, if you think about that, that's crazy.
Well, and Jenna kept saying that during the entire episode. That's like, it's fantastic. You made it this far. This is wonderful. But for them, I do think less was more. They talked about it. The judges talked about how if you see so many tricks, after a while, it's like, I know
maybe
you can
that's why I just felt
that.
underwhelmed. I just wanted a little more in between the movement, the tricks.
And you do learn that. So you've ever whether you've ever danced before, like there's a lot of power in like moments of silence. There's even in an interview, like if you take a breath and like ask a question, there's a lot of power in things that we have a tendency as human beings, because it's just human nature, to be like, I'm going to put all the tricks in, or I'm going to do this.
I felt like her moment with Derek in the rehearsal was like the most dynamic. I was like, dang, okay. But but that breath he was talking about.
Breath. And it's no different in what we do too. Instead of us like all talking at once, sometimes if we just like all had a pause, you're like, that was really powerful. Why do we all pause at the same time? Like,
I felt like that was the most dynamic moment. I was like,
Yeah. And the other interesting thing, because I saw them on Saturday, and they were saying the last 2 routines they did, like there were a lot of new lifts that they had never tried before. So there was a lot of things that muscle memory wise, you know, weren't 100% in their body. So sometimes that's where connections don't, you know, you don't get to lengthen as much. Once it's, you know, you've rehearsed it for 6 months.
Sure.
Those little fine details. But they felt like, well, we're here with the best of the best. Let's, you know, they flew in their coach from South Africa. They started working. And, you know, you can sit there and they could have done what they already had prepared, but I think for them, they just felt like they had to take it up a notch. And
well, they did what they do well. So I mean,
ridiculous.
I will say that. I
Yeah.
just, for me personally, it was.
There was one point where Luca's face when he was lifting her was a little bit like, because he was just
I saw
doing
that
so
too.
much. I was
Yep.
like, ah.
yeah,
But I mean,
he was working hard. They were injured. Like there was a lot of things going on, and they handled it really well. I was like, little Jenna Lynn crying at the end. I was like, "You're so great. I hope you feel really proud of yourself." Because in the moment, it's so hard to hear that.
Defeating, I'm sure.
But little insider scoop too. Derek called upon Luca and Jenna Lynn. He was doing a piece after taping a few weeks later and asked them for some help on some lifts.
Wow.
Because he was so impressed with what they were able to do, and so they sent like a tape,
Oh my gosh,
and he used
absolutely.
it for a performance.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that they can. I mean,
Very innovative.
Very innovative. Yes.
So and see again. Okay, this is what's so funny. Neo gave him an 82, and everyone else was 80, 80, 80. Because usually Derek, I would have been like, oh, he probably gave him an 82. But Derek felt like they didn't take the notes that he had given them and transferred.
Well,
it to
as the mentor, I
performance.
could see why he would be much harder. Absolutely.
100%, because he saw what they were capable of in that session, and then he was like, I didn't
Well, and he told them too to find those moments of mirroring the choreography and or the movements, and they didn't do that. So I think that it's gonna.
And again, I think that comes with being a young performer. Like once you start hitting, and this is why sometimes when you watch, so you think, sometimes the 18-year-old performers, and then you have like a 20 or 22-year-old performer, it's like night and day. The 18-year-old performer still feels a little junior, but once you start hitting your stride and like life happens and you feel more.
Right.
I think if they stay together as a partnership, we're going to see a big evolution with them.
See, and we have Tracy Johnson in the chat saying, yeah, you're right, that we'll be able to see the connections and emotions more as they grow into it.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you guys for
I know Tracy's
chatting.
amazing. She's always got great comments and great thoughts. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So, but it will definitely come in time. I was sad for them though, just because I felt like they were probably capable of like 85, 84.
Not so low.
Yeah, it felt a little low, but again,
I don't know.
so
I guess I'm the only one that
80.5.
doesn't. I don't know.
That's okay though.
I get the style. I don't know. I just felt.
It was fierce, but yeah, there
It
was
just felt like I wasn't watching dance. So I mean, again, to each in their own. But that was my opinion.
And then we moved to fiction. And I love fiction. I tweeted this out this morning because they had released that dance early. So I was like, he's grown so much as an artist. And if anyone watched him in season 10 and you look at now,
Truth.
it is what an evolution. I'm so proud of him. And he's been in this very funny bubble because he's been in this World of Dance bubble. You know, they taped earlier this year, and then he went like right into All Star where they did auditions and Academy, and now he's going into the live shows. He's not going to come out of this bubble until September, and I think he's going to find that he is like one of the biggest superstars in dance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, fiction is just a force to be reckoned with in all things dance. Like, even though he didn't make it, I don't know. Yes, my dude, fiction. Yes, yes, yes. Mine too.
well, okay. The props were amazing. The umbrella, using that umbrella, I was worried, but I was like, it's fine. It's fiction. He's got this. It reminded me a little bit of Gene Kelly in Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
Just so effortless. And of course, like, if
He
average
just-
people did that, we'd be like, ooh.
He just floats.
So light and fluffy, airy.
And
Beautiful.
like the music, I know we talk about musicality a lot, but every single piece of each word was perfectly expressed through his movement. I don't know. I mean, I know we talk about that, but I mean, this was like the epitome. This was a clinic on how to use a song. Like, he made that song come to life. We've heard
Right,
that song
yeah.
100 times.
From the beginning, as
Yes.
soon as he started.
And I think, too, what fiction's always done really well is he's always been able to emote and be very happy. What I feel like I've seen in World of Dance is seeing other emotions from him and things that, to me, I felt it came from his soul. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna feel sad or I'm gonna look angry or I'm gonna like it was deep seated, and I appreciate that from him.
Much more mature. I think
Yes.
we're not quite. We've seen how amazing he is, but we haven't seen that level of maturity, and he expressed that in World of Dance.
And I think that's kind of like the point of like, we saw him at 18 and So You Think You Can Dance. Now we're
Right.
seeing him, I think he's about 22.
22, he said, yeah.
So same thing, Luca and Jenna Lynn. Let's 4 years. Let's all gather here and let's talk
Right.
about it, because I do think if they're together as a partnership, we're going to see a big evolution.
Oh, 100%.
They're gonna be rock stars.
Yeah, if it,
Yeah,
that's a hard thing.
yeah.
They're so young. Does a partnership like stay together?
Well, and they
Especially
already
for
are. I
him.
mean, think about the group of people that really do love that style of dance. I mean, they're like, jumping on the couch. So I mean, they're already at such a high level. So yes, in 4 years, can you imagine? Ooh.
And it brought cabaret style dancing to the forefront. I feel like most of us, especially with So You Think,
Right.
Dancing with the Stars, that's not something that we see
Right.
very often.
No,
So
yeah.
good for them.
Good for them. And again, it is a whole part of the ballroom competition world too. So they were at Blackpool this year themselves. So they're competing with the best in the world, which is amazing.
Fiction. Oh.
But see, this was another one with Fiction. I thought that the scores were very low. I was a little
Way
unhappy
too
with
low.
the
Chat's
scores.
agreeing with us. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. It
Yeah.
wasn't enough.
I would have put him in the 90s. Maybe I wouldn't have put him at 96, but I sure could have found a 92, 93,
I can't
a
even.
90 even.
I can't even describe the anger in my heart, because like Fiction again is, if not my favorite dancer right now, he's like tied. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that he is so expressive, so explosive. He's just an artist. The imagery in this dance was unmatched. I do not know what was going through the judges' heads. Like, I just don't.
Well, and
I'm
here-
appalled.
Well, yeah, and Neo was like, I expected better from you. And I was like, really? I expected better from you as a judge. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes me mad because I was like, but they were all sort of, see, this is when I feel like they knew that Lelay Twins and they knew that Kone and Mari were coming up.
Yeah.
Because you have 84. J-Lo gave an 86, so I'll give her credit to that. But even
Still way too low. Absolutely
I was
way
very
too low.
surprised that Misty was low because she's been pretty generous with her scores. 82 there.
Well,
what are we missing?
And okay, can we
miss
talk about the
something?
fact too that Misty was one of the biggest fans of that dance, and she gave him an 82, right?
She gave him an 82.
82. Like I'm blown away.
Their comments were so. You would think that they would have given him like 90s.
They were too contrasting.
Yeah. So you're thinking, what the heck? I also thought that was my favorite performance from Fiction for sure. This
Oh, yeah.
entire season, just so different.
The imagery, the storytelling, it's everything that we want as an audience.
And Derek gave 85, so 84, 86, 82, 85.
Yeah,
total
I'm
for
not happy about it.
84.2. I was not
I am
either.
not happy about it.
And I kind of do feel like there was no way that Fiction was probably going to make it to the final two in the upper division, just because you had Lelay Twins, who were giants in the industry, and then you have Kone and Mari, who have made their mark as well. But I felt like he could exit with a higher score.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's just maybe part of my problem with this show, is that it's like Lelay Twins, and I mean Kone and Mari are incredible, so are Lelay Twins, but it's just like, are these titles now? I mean, in a weird way, like, yeah, Jabberwocky's left, last week and it blew us all away, but in a weird way it kind of made it real. Like, it gave the underdog an opportunity. And I'm not saying that Fiction is an underdog, but
Well, he is compared to, say, Lelay
yeah,
Twins.
sure. But he was not supposed to go home. I don't know. I'm so sad.
We love him, so that's all that matters.
So does our live chat.
And the good news is that we are going to see him on the live shows beginning August 7th for So You Think You Can Dance. So
Do we know if Fiction's routine was again mostly improvised by Tracy? Ooh, interesting.
I'm going to say that it was a little bit more choreographed this time
Sure.
around because of the props and
And it was
the
perfectly
umbrella.
one was perfectly choreographed with the words and
Yeah.
the music. So I would think it was pretty.
Derek gave good feedback.
Derek
using
gave the whole
the bench.
division. I
Yeah.
thought he did
yeah.
a great job. And then we go to Pour Passion. Again, we hardly knew you guys. We miss you. But I don't.
I'm sure you flamencoed well.
I have nothing. I
With the
have
typewriter.
nothing to say. I don't want to judge them on like
Sure.
2 seconds.
We don't know.
We don't know. But obviously, you're great because you made it this far. So, 78.8 though. So we don't know what that was about. And then we do get to the giants of this entire competition, Lelay Twins. And, you know, every time I see Lelay Twins, especially after the duel round, which I thought they were a little arrogant. I was with Derek on this one where he said he thought they were a little off-putting, even though they delivered at the same time. I felt like a little bit
Absolutely.
of like... So I always go in with a little bit of edge of like, I just don't want to like them. But then I watch them and I'm like, I really do like them. Because what they're doing is so innovative and unique, and nobody else does what they do in the world.
I have the exact same problem. Like, you literally just like picked the words out of my brain about them. I mean, they're so compelling, but there's just something about their personality that I'm a little about. But again, this is where the fact that the public doesn't get to vote plays a part, because I do wonder that feeling of being off-put. I wonder what other people think. But I just wonder how would that have played if it were a live voting system, you know?
They're very competitive. I know that. I mean, you can see it. You don't need me to tell you this.
Of course.
But they were holding back on purpose. I'm 100% sure. They're like, we're just going to not show Derek everything. Of course they had something. They had something in their back pocket the whole time.
I think they're good, but sometimes I feel like maybe even the judges get clouded by it. Oh my God, they're Lelay Twins.
Yeah, a little bit wrapped up in the celebrity of it almost.
Yeah, it's let's all judge everyone equally, fairly. They did well. They're not like the best.
Thank you.
They're
they did
really
not blow.
good. Like,
yeah, they didn't blow me
they
away.
work very in sync. They're twins. You know, in addition to just being siblings. Like, I mean, you can't get more connected than that.
Right.
But,
But I wonder again. But I wonder again if we're getting caught up in, or they're getting caught, because we don't have to say, getting caught up into the celebrity, the name. I mean, again, they are incredible, but I was way more blown away with Fiction's performance than Lelay Twins.
Well, and I think too, it's like what I think is interesting is that you know, in the dance world they're very well known, but there's still a whole like mainstream sector that aren't familiar with Lelay Twins, and I wonder if like the average viewer that is not the hardcore dance viewer that's like buying World of Dance tickets and going to the finals in Pasadena, are they watching this going, I don't understand like why maybe Fiction didn't go through, or why Ian didn't go through, and why Lelay Twins have been held like up here this entire series. I do wonder if that's translating.
See, we have Bethany on the chat asking, why do Lelay Twins get away with pulling faces and mouthing the words? I get that's their style, but that is very off-putting to me.
Yeah, I love it. I love hearing this feedback, because it gives us some...
Well, and I think like part of their
input
personality as dancers, there's some sass to there. They are masters at battles. They are masters. And so this is a part of like who they are as competitors, as challengers, as dancers.
Right. Well, and they're getting away with it because of this format too. They don't really have to like go out there and be like, oh, we're performing for the public. They're treating it as a battle. Which,
if they were coming on So You Think You Can Dance, it would be totally different.
It's all about charisma and connecting with the viewer. But here it's beating everyone else.
Because you can hear, like, this is the thing, like, if Nigel were on this panel and it was So You Think You Could Dance, he would say, lose the attitude a little bit. And you would hear that.
Absolutely.
So I could hear him saying
absolutely. He'd be like, I don't know, I just, you know. But, so again, it's the format which allows it. And so we, as viewers, we have to be like, okay, this is the format.
Well, again, like we talked about, I mean, there's no doubt that they have so much talent. It's just... I don't know. When I put the performances tonight with Fiction and with, again, you got to bring it every week, and I feel like Fiction's been bringing it every week and stepping it up, and you know, Lelay Twins was just like, oh, they were Lelay Twins.
You're doing kind of the same thing.
They had some really unique moves that Derek pointed them out.
The
they were
breaking,
really
that was cool.
There were some
but
cool
then
moments.
They moved on.
Yeah, and I just want to, I'm interested to see sort of how this plays out with the divisional finals, because it can go two directions. It can go in this direction where it just feels predetermined that Lelay Twins is going to win. Or is it that Kone and Mari, you know, another David and Goliath battle, and, you know, Kone and Mari, because I have this theory. I feel like Kone and Mari, like, make it at least to the finale. In my head, because just of what I'm seeing out there, I have no intelligence, no intel on this whatsoever. It's just a feeling.
But but I see it too. Like, they're stupidly talented. They bring a different routine every single time. I mean,
they're so likable.
Yes, you can't help but watch them and just be completely lost in the moment. They're the whole package.
Oh, so look at Damon's like, I don't see the arrogance, but we feel the arrogance. And here's the other thing. This is too. Steve and Damien are also men. I would love to know from some of the women, are you feeling the arrogance from them? Sometimes it's a gender thing too.
Could be.
That could be a really
Well, I think, like you said, though,
thing.
it's their battle mentality, and it lends to this format. So I mean, why not
100%.
come out? And if that's part of their motif too, they have to have that. You know, their fans love that. So.
And they're smart. There's a strategy to winning these things too.
Sure.
And they're masters at doing this. They're master, strategists. They are fantastic dancers. They've got the sass to go with it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
And
of things.
that's their personality. You know, that's for their.
Yeah. So it's a part of the whole package.
Yeah.
All right, and then we go to Kone and Mari wrapping up the night. I love this because it was fiery. And that's not something we've seen. It's a different color to what they've had in their toolbox, which I kind of like.
It was intense and vibrant, if those are good words to use. But you could tell just how personal it was. And it was like they left part of their hearts out there on the floor.
Woo! This routine hit
So
home.
good.
Loved the movement. Loved the story. Hated the song choice. Just did. I'm putting it out there, people. I don't know. I felt like I was a little conflicted about the like song and the like I don't know.
It was the John Legend song.
Yes, it was, but I just felt like the energy of that song with the energy of the story and the movement, I just felt a little discombobulated. They're perfect, don't get me wrong. I just personally I was like, oh, I wanted a different song choice.
I was also waiting. Well, whenever people have props, I'm always wary of that. But the last time that we saw them, they had, was it last
The
time?
cell phones.
The phones,
Cell phone,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was concerned, oh no, they're going to drop their phone, hit their face. This time I was concerned for their necks, because there were a few times where I was like, oh, they're going to choke
What's going
with the
on?
bands.
Oh my gosh,
no.
I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like they were so completely perfectly like
yeah.
choreographed that there wasn't a moment that I was like, they're not on it. They know exactly what they're doing.
I totally agree, but it was still like,
Yeah.
okay.
On the edge of your seat.
Yeah, which is
Super interesting.
But that's kind of fun though. That
fantastic.
adds an element of like
love
unpredictability.
I love it. They always make me watch.
God,
Which
they're
is- that's what
just
you want.
flawless to me.
Yeah, and I do love that they've been around. Like, this is the thing. Like, Kone and Mari have been around. They've had a YouTube presence. They've choreographed on So You Think You Can Dance multiple times. And this show is finally, like, opening people's eyes to who they are. It's like,
Love it.
they so deserve this moment to really shine. So in some ways, I'm like, I would kind of like them to win the upper division for something different. I don't know if they will, though, but it makes for a very interesting dynamic for the divisional finals between Lelay Twins and Kone and Mari, because they both bring something totally different to the table. And while we're saying like Lelay Twins are super competitive, I think that Kone and Mari are very competitive as well.
They're
So-
silent killers.
Yeah.
But I mean, and look at that
Yes.
connection. There's just no. I mean, okay, Lelay Twins obviously have connection. We can't, we can't disagree about that. But I mean, there's just something so special about Kone and Mari's connection. It's just unmatched. I
It's
can't wait to see them.
chosen connection, which is way different.
Isn't it
and-
interesting? Can we talk about this really quick? Juniors, 1-1. We have the groups, 2 big groups, pretty large, sizable groups, and then now our upper is 2-2.
Duos.
See, Kone and Mari, I have a feeling that maybe they'll be like not the next, because nappy tabs can still stay there, but it's kind of in that direction. I'd love to see them grow and flourish, and for more people to see them.
Oh yeah, I mean their work is always been impeccable and really interesting, and
Very
I
interesting.
hope we see them. I don't know if we will, given their schedule and their success in World of Dance, but I'd love to see them at least 1 week on So You Think. It's been a couple seasons since we've seen them, so it's definitely one of those things that I'm like, I'd love to see them back in the mix. And
It's so innovative. Their storytelling is lovely. Oh,
And here's the other interesting thing on their scores were a little bit more even. It was 94, 92, 94, 93. But if we toss out Misty's 98 that she gave Lelay Twins and say she gave something a little bit more level, like even like a 96.
yeah, that was way
I mean,
too
these scores
high.
are close if you look at the averages, 93.5 and 93.2.
They're the closest we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
but I mean,
whole
98,
round.
I don't know. Like, to me, that was...
If she had given something more,
Lelay Twins.
a little bit more normal, because I felt that was a little bit high.
Yes.
You could have had Kone and Mari on top there. You just don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm reading the chat as well. They deserve an Emmy nomination next year for their work. I could not agree more. Like they are going to be winning Emmys left and right. I just, again, this is a platform. The show is a platform, whether they win or not, for people that weren't aware of them, to see how incredible they are.
Well, I'm looking forward to the Emmy nominations because adding World of Dance to the mix, they were not eligible this year because they missed the cutoff date literally by like 2 weeks. But this will add a fresh face to that competition because it's been very heavy with So You Think and Dancing with the Stars, obviously. Just quickly, since we do need to wrap, the divisional finals will be Diana Pombo versus Eva Igo, and then Swing Latino versus Kinjas, and then, of course, Kone and Mari versus Lelay Twins.
Then there were 6.
And then there will only be 3 as we lead into the finals, into the $1 million.
It's going to be a tough week.
Just 2 more weeks.
I know. But I'm glad, you know, obviously we had a lot of differing opinions. The judges had a lot of differing opinions, so it elicits a lot of reactions. That's a good thing because we're talking about it.
Absolutely. Love it.
All right, well, tell everyone where they can find you.
Y'all can find me at Becky Sattero on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yay! And hi guys, I'm Amy Cassandra. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at AmyCassandra_TV and AmyCassandra.com.
Yes, and I'm at Kristyn Burt on Twitter and the Kristyn Burt on Instagram. And of course, I had that article with Super Crew. I'm telling you guys are going to be interested in this, and that comes on DanceNetwork.tv tomorrow morning.
Love it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
All right, we'll see you guys next week here on AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.